Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters. And tonight, we're talking about civil rights and equality for this wonderful Black History moment.
Yes.
Notice I didn't say month.
Right, a moment.
Gotcha. This wonderful Black History moment.
Yes.
With Neutral Voices. So let's get right into this, because y'all know how y'all get, and we start talking and then we okay. So civil rights movement. I want to know what kicked it off. And you know, because a lot of times, even myself, you hear it, you know it, civil rights movement, civil rights act, civil rights bill, civil rights, whatever, civil war. You hear so much, but just let's clarify a few things tonight. So you don't have to go too deep, Clarence, because I know you can go there. But so let's kind of, a little deep, but yeah, just so we can break it down and get some good understanding.
I would bring it to our modern understanding of when civil rights started. Yeah. Everybody thinks it started in the 60s and the 50s and all of that, but no. It started when this speech was given. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth in this country a new nation where all men were created equal. That was the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln. That was during and after the Civil War. So right there, he set a precedence that's saying that every man should be created equal. So that's when the fight began because...
okay, wait, pause right there. Uh-huh. Pause it and hold your thoughts. Don't forget.
I got you.
Every man.
Every man.
Did that include women?
Not at the time, unfortunately.
Did that include black men?
At that time of that speech, yes. Because it was at the it was in the Civil War, at the ending of the Civil War. And the purpose of the Civil War, if you think it was to bring black people into the citizenship of equality. And I'm glad you asked that question, because that's what I was going to go next when you said, did that include black men?
Okay.
Because, when they were freed, we were supposedly made citizens, correct? Mm-hmm. So if we were already made citizens, why did we need civil rights? Mm-hmm. Because every right that was afforded to a citizen should have been afforded to us.
So once again, I'm going to ask you that question.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm with you. At the end of the day, I'm asking you that question because you just said civil rights.
Right.
So if he said all men were created equal, and we fighting for civil rights, if that was the beginning of fighting for civil rights, then how can we be, why is we here?
That's a great question.
When you say, why are we here?
Why are we in the space that we are in this space?
Okay.
Or we're at as black.
Because America didn't listen to themselves. They didn't listen to themselves.
They didn't listen to themselves, or did they just pacify us?
In this last movement, I think it was more of a pacification, but I don't think they listened to themselves because even in the frameworks they said, every man is, but again, we weren't counted as men then. That was the Constitution. But at this point, when they said that, we were made American citizens of America. We were free. We were free men.
We was free.
Freed men. Yes.
We was free.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
I just want to make sure. So right now you're breaking down what the civil rights movement is.
Yes.
And so as soon as you come out of that, because I think you may be on the tail end of that, I want to also know what started it. So as you're talking about that, what started the movement?
Think about, we have always fought for something, and the civil rights movement, I think it's more of just a name given to a whole movement that was already established. Think about, we were fighting Nat Turner. Nat Turner could be a civil rights movement. Your boy, you always talk about, his name slipping me, the one that wanted to go, Marcus Garvey, was a civil rights movement. Okay. So it was always a civil rights fight, or a fight for black people rights. But I think we just capitalize it into this 10, 20 year period of the civil rights movement. So, but it was always a fight. It was always a fight for us to have our civil rights.
Right. So, and I know you, see, that's what gets me, because I keep wanting to go to the war, and I know those are two different
Right.
time periods and things.
But but if you look at the civil rights movement, it was a war. It was bloodshed.
I know it was, and I'm just saying. So, just help people and help me be clear. So I know when it was the civil rights, when it was the Civil War.
Yes.
There was a North versus the South,
Yes.
and some, the South wanted the slavery,
Yes.
and the North, etc. I know that they didn't care about that because they were more industrial versus agriculture,
Correct.
cultural, and so, the South needed the slaves for the economy. So I get that. That seems so cut and dry. But with the civil rights, you had a lot of white people fighting too,
Yes.
just like back then. You had a
Yes.
lot of white people still fighting
Yes.
for equal rights for black people.
Correct.
So to cancel out discrimination and to give us the right to vote, etc.
Right.
So, but I want to get to the nitty gritty. Like, it was something that had to spark the flame. What set it off?
And I think we talked about this in the modern movement. We were talking about, in Alabama, they were trying to march to Selma to cross a bridge, and was it Jimmy Lee, the young man that was shot?
That was shot. Yeah.
That catapulted and that put the modern, or what we learned as the civil rights movement, in the forefront of America. And that's where I say it was capitalized in that time period up until 64, when I think the Civil Rights Act was signed.
Okay. And so I know that there were a lot of people connected, but who are the most influential? We always hear about Dr. King and everything, but when it comes to the civil rights movement, who do you know that were the most influential?
Oh, man. You just named a few. You can hit us up with a few.
You got Philip Randolph. You might not think he was part of the civil rights movement, but Malcolm X was
Major.
in that movement.
Yes.
You got Adam
Clayton Powell.
Clayton Powell. So you have a whole bunch of people, even though they only mention the two,
Yes.
but you have a whole list of, like Dr. Drew. I mean, people that you don't even know that was in the mix,
Yeah.
standing next to even Jesse Jackson.
Jackson.
I mean, you have people like that, Al Sharpton. They was all at the midst of the situation.
I think we had some people from Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Yeah.
involved in the civil rights movement too.
I wish I knew, and I only knew him as Mr. Smith because I never knew his first name. But I think he had a son, Bruce Smith, and they used to go to Mount Calvary. I remember hearing him speak several times about, he was in the fricas of it. He had talked about getting his head busted. He had talked about being in those wars. So it was a lot of people that, that weren't named, but they gave as much as anybody else because they stayed in there. We don't know all the names, and that's a sad thing. We don't know all the names of the people that got hurt on Blood Sunday and things like that, but they gave the greatest sacrifice.
Exactly. And then I think Delois McKinley from here.
Yes,
she's
Dr. McKinley.
Yes, and she is actually supposed to be our guest here tomorrow night for the Voice of the People.
And she'll know Mr. Smith's name.
And and she would definitely know a lot more about this because she had hands-on
right
back then. So, why was it important, and why is it important for us to understand the civil rights, the movement, the act, etc.? Why is it important for us day to day, today?
It's history, and we need to know our history and where it comes from. But I thought about this as we were talking about this title, and when E was asking, and I said, when we were made citizens, we should have had those civil rights. Now the movement proved that we had civil rights if you look at it, because they used the tools that was framework, the right to protest. They used the tools that were framework. Now the laws didn't like it, the people in power didn't like it, but they use their tools and their rights to be able to do this. So that's why I say when I was thinking about it, when we were made citizens, we already had those rights, and that's why they were able to protest. Now they made laws against it at the time, but they utilized what was in the Constitution, how they could utilize and use their rights to be able to move to this movement.
Right. Anything you wanted to add to that? You look like okay.
No, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Don't leave it alone. That's why we're talking about
because
it.
at the end of the day, goes back to my question: why are we at this moment we're at today?
And you feel like what when you say that? Because everybody that's black don't feel like they're at whatever moment you're saying.
If they don't feel like they're at that moment, they blind.
But that's
let's look at the reality.
Right, but I want to really
the reality of everything.
I want to peel back the content of what you're saying when you say
I'm
that.
finna say it. I'm
So
finna let you know.
tell us how you feel.
Because we are still fighting the same exact fight to this day. Schools, equal opportunity, everything they stood up and fought for.
Mm-hmm.
We are still fighting the same fight as we speak. There's nothing different. The brutality, the police brutality. Same thing that happened in the 60s, back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, back in the day. So we are still fighting the same fight. They don't want us in certain neighborhoods. We are still fighting the same fight that we've been fighting for. Well, we on round 355.
So you saying so back then we were fighting for voting rights but I mean if we be truthful we have the right to vote, but a lot of us choose not to vote.
No. They're trying to cancel that right as we speak.
Yeah, but a lot of us before that came to the surface, the truth is there's a lot of black people that they made the choice themselves that they don't feel like it's necessary to vote. So I'm saying
I
was one
wonder
thing.
why. Let's wonder why.
Well, we can wonder why. But
let's look at what's going on around us today.
Okay.
If you put what's going on around us today, it fits in that same frame from the 60s and 50s. It's same exact frame. It's nothing different. Nothing different.
But okay, so I would have you break it down, but because we only have so many minutes to do this, I won't.
Am I
do
telling
that.
the truth, Clarence?
I won't do that.
You are on point. I have no argument.
Clarence,
with that.
anything you want to add to that?
Well,
what E is saying? I'm just trying to make it plain and clear for the people, so it's not too vague. Where
really,
are we, and why do we feel that we are still there? Because I see a lot of great things happening.
Yes.
And so I want to give credit somewhere where it's due. Some changes have happened.
If we keep not talking about what's actually going on, regardless of all the great things that has happened, it just blinds you. Oh, this was great. This what's going on. Wait a minute. You talking about the good? Let's peel back.
Yeah.
Okay.
The good.
And I'm gonna go with you on this one, E, if I may, because we're talking about civil rights and equality. And here's the question we have to ask America. And E is very on point. And you got to think about what he said. The celebration. Yes, we should recognize what happened, but we should not major in the minors. And that's where I think E is going. We should not major in the minors.
Meaning what?
Meaning that we shouldn't, these things that seem pacifying us, that got us, but it didn't get us over. It got us to, but not over.
Got us
to, but not over.
I was going to say got us to, but not through.
Yeah,
But I do want you to be specific. As we're talking about civil rights.
Yes, here's what I'm talking about. Yes, we have the Voting Rights Act, but now they're questioning and they're trying to revoke and trying to make it harder for people of color to vote. Closing precincts, doing that.
Yes.
Look at the schools. The schools are not equal because the funding is not equal. Let's look at.
But what is that really about? I mean, I know that's not our subject, but when you say that, you know how the Bible says it rains on the just and unjust. So I'm saying, looking at it from that perspective, those same things you're talking about now, because we're so segregated.
Right.
Or desegregated.
Desegregated.
Yeah, we're so desegregated. And so we have white, black, and everybody
it's all
together.
mixing in together,
right.
Yes.
So I'm saying from that perspective.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying we're majoring in the minors. That's true. That's true. And all of that is good in its concept and in its entirety of what it is. But here's what I'm saying we need to ask America, and this is where we need to get. And I've asked this question to a few other people. America has to ask themselves, for us to be equal, what is the one thing, two things, 10 things white America is willing to regress from to allow the black people to come up to progress? What are they willing to relinquish to really make us equal, to make these scales balance?
And you feel like they have to allow us?
It has to. But here's the problem. In equality, it's a good term, but we got to look at reality. Can it really function, or will it really happen in America? No, because the power structure that is not going to relinquish any of their power. They're not.
And so what you're saying is, in order for us to get to a higher level,
Yes.
they have to
Okay.
open the door. They have to allow, or they have to relinquish
Right.
some power.
Right. Think about it. You got 10 kids and you want to feed them equally. You got a pie. You're going to cut that pie equally in 10. If you cut it anything less than equally,
Gonna be a problem.
it's going to be a problem, and it's not equal. So think about it. Plus, they can't go back and give up 400 years of a head start.
Not at all.
If they could, how
If
would,
they could,
what would that
how-
look like?
what would that look
Those are
like?
the reparations.
Those are the
So
reparations. Even with
I
reparations,
was
you
just
still
gonna
would not
say,
get. You would not get.
it
you
can't
probably
just
get
be
10
about money.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you can't go back and give that 400-year head start.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that head start and what they built, what are they willing to say? Okay, I'm going to give to you. There's no way that they're going to give up anything to balance the scales. They're going to continue to give us the minors, and that's why I
Smoke and
said
mirrors. They're gonna keep giving
we
us
can't
smoke and
major
mirrors.
in the minors. But those things are good because it helps us get along in America today. But let's think of it. We don't, in civil rights, again, we don't need them, because if you really know history, if you study, Doc V, you're a person of faith, and I'm going to bring this to you. When you got baptized and you accepted Christ as your Savior, did they tell you were, or joined the church? What did the first thing they tell you? You have all the rights and privilege of any other member of this church. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's what they told us then. But you can utilize those in your church, right? You can. But here in America, once we were freed, we became citizens. We didn't need civil rights. We were blanketed by the rights that were already established. So why would we need civil rights?
Exactly. That was my next question. So, why were we fighting for civil rights? At the end of the day, we were still being discriminated against
Yes.
in the workplace, just like now.
Yes.
Or when it came to housing, etc.
right.
And then that's when you say, just like now.
Yes.
So that's when you're saying things haven't changed, or they're the same.
It's
And
smoke and mirrors. That's all it is.
I have to have E break down the things. Smoking
and I'm
mirrors.
going to give you to that a point, but what I'm saying is the reason I'm saying, you ever heard the talk, and that's why I say it's not smoke and mirrors, because it actually happened. It's on paper. You know how we all say everything looks good on paper? You know, business and everything we make, that's where it looks good on paper. Now, we supposedly can live wherever we want to. We can go whatever school we want to. We can vote. We can marry whoever we want to. That's part of civil rights, which they try to connect to marrying whoever we want to.
Right.
But
Interracial.
interracial, you know, same sex, whatever,
Yeah.
because they group all that in there. So what I'm saying is, all of that is that is good. That is the civil rights. Those are things that were afforded to us. But with the civil rights has to come the equality. And the question is, when is the equality? And that's what you were talking about. That's what I was going to agree with you. When is the equality going to become effective or kick in? When are we going to be seen as equal?
And what are we doing today, let's just say, to continue in that fight for equality? What are we doing? So we know about that act and that movement, and that was passed, what, in 1964?
It was signed in 64, yes.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
And then we're still saying that these changes
Need to be
are
changed.
necessary
Yes.
still today.
Yeah.
And so do we have any leaders today that are leading that movement to continue this fight?
Not as hard, not as strenuous, not as vigorously. Because I think, and as he said, smoke and mirror, the smoke and mirror, because a lot of us became complacent.
We feel good. We all right?
Yeah, we
good. We happy.
Good. We good. We happy.
with the little?
with the little.
Okay.
Yes. And then some of us got to the point where we came into compliance. Like, and now, and what I say that, you know, people that, let's look at our political leaders. We don't even have to look about the neighborhood, because if any change is going to come, it's going to have to come political. It's going to have to come through government if there's any change. So look at our political leaders.
It's in my brain.
Well, take it. Let me.
I'm gonna just say this: they give us. Well, I can't say they give. We get voted into office, And now the game is, well, we got to play their game to get what we want. Why we got to play a game to get what we need for whatever when you on the same level, supposedly be the same level as this same person, this other person. Let's make it make sense. You get in there, and guess what? I'm going to hang out with so-and-so. Now you become so-and-so. Instead of turning around and be like, oh, no, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to do that. I got business over here that really needs to be done. Let me set this business forward.
Okay.
But when they set the business forward, be like, let's just want you, if you vote for mine, I'll vote for yours type of situation. Nah, your stuff ain't right. I'm not going to vote for you.
Okay.
I can care less if I need your vote because this is what we need over here. But we so busy we got to play the game.
Okay.
That's so eloquent spot. And I want to say this too. And I want to look at my phone because I don't want to misspeak, but I was reading something today. Seattle, Washington, their city council passed a bill, and I think it's the Crest or Cess bill. I'm going to look it up. But it's for Indian, not Native American, but Indian people rights. There was this Asian hate bill that came out of nowhere. It came after like 2 or 3 months of Asians being beat up and traumatized. This bill developed in 2 to 3 months and was signed. It was put in a law, the Asian hate bill, in less than 3 months.
Right.
We said 1964, the Civil Rights Act was signed. Why are we still, and that's why I say politically, and he said eloquently that I get in the office, I'm going to promise, but when I get in the office, they promise me things. And then I don't want to lose my position. I don't want to lose my stature. I got to stay up here. I might fight a little bit, but what is my fight?
Right.
We need those politicians that's going to be in there, that's still going to fight, that knock heads, but we don't have those.
Right. And so you say that as far as individual people.
Yes.
What about organizations? I know back then we had different organizations that stood for Black people. And so who do you see today as far as
ask yourself that question. Where's the NAACP?
NAACP, they're here.
What are they doing? And I'm not being funny. I'm asking it in a whole totality of what are they doing. Think about it.
Okay, let's think.
Let's think nationally. Why the NAACP made a blurb when these 5 police officers killed this Black man in Memphis? I don't hear no hoopla now. Where's the noise?
Okay.
Where is the national? George Floyd.
They're quiet.
So that's what I'm saying. Where are they?
It changed over time now.
The Urban League, all of them.
What is it called? The ACL?
ACLU.
They the only ones that actually doing something.
The ACLU.
LU.
Yeah, those are the ones that's fighting, to make sure our jails are better, to make sure things are ran properly. But where is the NAACP? And the ACLU is a multicultural thing, but the NAACP, the National Advancement of Achievement of Colored People.
Right.
1, 2, 3. Where the NAACP?
And wait, and so you just named those 2. Are those the only?
No, it's I'm just saying.
But then again, they disband the ones that actually was really making progress.
Yes.
What are you getting ready to say? The Black
Panthers.
Yeah,
they totally destroyed them because of the simple fact. Guess what? They was doing what they was saying they was going to do.
Yeah.
They stood up. They didn't care. Because at the end of the day, if you were in need, I'm coming to help you, Dr. V. If your building needed X, Y, Z, guess what? We got the resource. We got the manpower to come fix this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And they didn't have that problem with helping out. They didn't have that problem with standing up for colored people.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the Black Panthers.
The Black Panthers, but they was deemed as
a negative.
thugs,
They were radicals and
just because they carried guns,
pro-violent.
It was carry guns and Ku Klux Klan carry all kinds of weapons, guns, and then cover themselves. But they have never been disbanded.
Yeah, but you actually, and I'm gonna go with E. When you actually asked that, the civil rights movement, the modern civil rights movement, was also backed by the Southern Leadership Conference, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which means there were groups of churches.
I know
back
the
in
church
this.
had to be in there somewhere. Now.
Now, where is the voice and the power of the church anymore that's
Today.
fighting today? I mean, why are there so many churches in the neighborhood?
With
But-
no structure or no strength.
Right, we can't come together as a body. That's what the church is, a body.
Yes.
But why aren't we coming together as a powerful body? They are the most gathering of black people every week.
Yeah,
Every week.
that's the most segregated day of the week.
Yeah. But so if we got a church here and church here, church here, why aren't we all coming together,
I agree.
putting this fight together? Why does this church go this way and that church go that way and that? But we're not telling us come together. The church was the meeting house for the civil rights. The church was the hiding place for
Was
civil
the
rights.
cornerstone
It was
of the
this
community.
powerful organization
So it was more relevant back then.
Yes.
You believe?
Yeah.
Visibly.
visibly and for this purpose. So I'm just saying, why isn't it that strong now today? Because the church is where you got a captive black audience all the time. And think about politicians. Every May, every June,
Every election,
every time there's an election,
first place
primary
they go.
or major.
First place they go.
Okay, so that was one of my questions. So where's the breakdown? Where's our weak spot
There you go.
right
He
now
just
for black people? So you're saying
just said it.
so. Okay, so if just thinking about it, the way I put that, what would you say is our weak spot if we were doing a SWOT analysis? So our strength is in what? And I'm
Numbers.
talking about
We
black
got numbers.
people.
We got numbers.
Okay. And so then looking at that opposite, so our weak spot is what?
Leadership.
Yes.
Okay, you say leadership, not unity
No,
amongst
no.
the people.
No.
It's leadership.
It's leadership.
I would say unity is a weakness because we don't have the leadership bringing us together.
So I mean, like you said on Sundays, it's the most.
Yeah.
We
You got a captive audience.
Yeah. So
Hundreds
Right,
of
but
black people
people-
at a time.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of people would say, "Well, I go to church on Sundays. I'm going to church to hear the word of God, the Bible, not necessarily to
Didn't
hear
God say, "Free
anything
my
about-"
people?
Yeah,
To
man,
hear.
boy, me and you
Say
been on
God
the
say,
same
"Free my
page
people"?
because he did say free my people.
Not
so
necessarily to hear about politics.
it's not politics.
But I'm just saying, a lot of times this is how people look at it. They
It's
don't want
not
to hear
politi-
anything other than the word.
That is the word.
Or their favorite
that is
songs.
The word. That is
Love
the
your
word.
neighbor?
Love
That's
your
not the
neighbor.
word?
Yeah.
Treat others as you want to be treated?
Yes,
That's not the
there's a
word?
way to put it. So
So-
trust me, guys, I'm on your side. I'm on your side here. I'm just trying to bring those things to the forefront to, kind of remind you of and kind of take up for the pastors just a little bit that, they
They got ask for tithes and offerings,
They
but
gotta-
can't ask for.
they gotta do what they
can't
came to
ask,
do.
Can we stand together? I mean, you can ask for tithes and offerings, real damn.
we'll start with your pastor.
And that, yep. Now stay right there. We can start with mine, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the things that actually our community need is strong leadership.
Yes.
Name a pastor that just in this city right now,
Okay.
and
Pastor
go.
Quincy.
He passed the question.
Hi,
My point
Pastor.
exactly. I mean, you're gonna
I
praise your
love my
pastor, but
pastors.
it's just the truth. The truth is the truth.
Right. Well,
I mean, even my pastor.
So what we're saying is we need our leaders to step up. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying. But even though our leaders, even if they step up, you have to have a people that's willing to follow. And,
they got
a
a people. Ooh, nothing quiet.
Yeah, you have to have a group of people with a mindset to follow or to trust the
You're right.
process and
You're
to
right.
trust the leadership.
All right.
And so I'm just saying.
Lead with
And-
strength. That's all we got to say.
and- What'd you say?
Lead with strength.
I like that. So I wanted to make sure we get that out there. This is Neutral Voices. We have been having good conversation about the civil rights movement, the act, and all of that. And we're going to continue a little bit tomorrow night with the Voice of the People and hopefully our guest. And we may talk a little further about the civil rights movement.
From first hand.
And yes, and as we were talking about mindset, etc., as we always say when we depart, it sounds so good.
Always protect your mind.
Always protect your mind. Thank you. Good night.